the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about holding your face to the light. And I don't know how long this is going to be. It's just a concept I was thinking of this morning. This was what our daily reflection said. That was the title, Holding Your Face to the Light. And it made me think of a couple things. It made me think about where I'm at with my sobriety today and where I'm at with my emotional sobriety today. Um, with considering stroke recovery, considering waking up with a headache every day. I woke up and I felt like poop. I did. Um, I I had to quickly shift my mindset and turn that around. Um, and the best way I can do that is to dial into one of my morning meetings. And that's why I do that, because I need help changing my perspective in the morning, every single morning, because especially now when I wake up with a headache every morning. Like this morning, I woke up and I'm like, I totally feel hungover. Like that's what the feeling is. And I think it's ironic or coincidental. You decide. That's what my husband always says. Is it ironic or coincidental? And I'm like, I don't know. I have to look up the definition. Anyway, that I don't drink anymore. And now post stroke, I wake up with this feeling like I'm hungover. So before I logged in, no, I was already logged in to my meeting. I thought I need to drink some water today. Um, because I was thinking like my toes, I can tell when I'm dehydrated because my toes start cramping. And I just feel a little crampier, you know? So I thought I'm going to drink water today. And when I thought that, I felt good, like I got happy that I still am looking for solutions every morning. I'm dialing into my meeting. I'm looking for solutions to make myself feel better, even in the smallest ways. And I didn't really put it together until now, right now, that when I'm waking up in the morning and seeking solutions, that is the equivalent of holding my face to the light. And initially in the morning, or initially this morning when I heard that title, I thought of uh when we go outside, and this is the perfect season for this, when you go outside and it's like 40 degrees outside, so it's pretty cold, not bitter cold, but it's like getting on the verge of that. If the wind is blowing, that would be bitter for me. But you go outside and it's cold outside. There's just this really sharp coolness in the air against your skin. And in the shade, it's a little too much. It's a little uncomfortable. And then you walk into the sun, and there is something magical for me about being in really cool air on the brink of being uncomfortable, and you walk into the sun. Like you can be in the shade, and right beside you is the sun. And like I remember sitting at my daughter's soccer games, and like it was always cold during soccer season. And some days like the wind is blowing and you're sitting there like you have to wear an extra layer than you think you needed. And so I would always bring an extra layer, knowing that I think I might not need this, but I bring it anyway. And I'm always grateful that I did, because it's just always a little colder than I expect it to be. And it never failed. Like the side of the field where the parents sat for my daughter's team was in the shade, and the other parents get to sit in the sun. Um, but I remember sitting there and I would like move my chair over to be in the sun. And there's just this huge difference between sitting in the shade and sitting in the sun. And that is the difference between waking up and being focused on the negative and waking up and looking for solutions. And that's what I'm thinking of right now. It's funny because some days I log on here and I hit record and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say, but I have a topic. Other days I have a I have like 3 pages of notes on what I wanted to share about because so much entered my mind when I was sitting in my meetings. And today's one of those days where I just had a bit of stuff and it's more, I just wanted to see what comes out. And a year ago, I was nervous to do that because I would lose my train of thought so easily because of my cognitive impairment. But when I'm feeling okay as far as head pain and stuff, I can finish a thought. And I hate bringing that up because I always start losing my train of thought when I do that. But I wanted to share about the other day. I was sitting out on our new deck. So, for those of you who are not lifetime listeners, we got a new deck and we got our double decker deck demolished and we got a whole new one with the bottom deck is now a patio, a stone patio, and everything. It's beautiful. It's tracks, all that stuff. Um, and so I've been trying to go out there even though it's getting cold. And we have a little like outdoor fire pit table. And so I'll go sit by that and let the dogs run around. Well, the other day I was sitting out on the top deck, and it was one of those days where it was a little too cold outside, but I wanted some fresh air. So I went out there and sat at our new bistro set on the top deck. And I was thinking, well, I'm not going to sit out here very long because it's cold, but at least I can get some fresh air. And the dogs were out there. And so on my side in the wintertime, on my side where the houses are beside me, we are in the shade. And in the wintertime, well, I guess it's all year round. The folks across from us, their back deck is in the sun. So in the summertime, it's nice because you get to go out there and it's cool because we're in the shade and they don't go outside because they're in the sun and it's just too hot. But in the wintertime, it's a little too cold on our side. And like when we get snow, it doesn't melt on our deck, but it melts on the other people's deck. So I was sitting there a little too cold, looking at their side where the sun was. And I'm like, oh, I wish it was sunny on this side, and I could sit out here longer. And then there was this gust of wind. Like there wasn't any wind. And then all of a sudden there was this gust of wind. And it was so momentary, uh, temporary, whatever you want to say, that it blew all the leaves off of this tree that was above my head. And then the wind just stopped blowing. It was just like it came through, pushed all the leaves off of that tree, and then it stopped. So when the leaves blew into the air, they just floated there. So our house is back, our backs back to each other. So there's this common ground between us where the trees are. So the wind just blew through there and then it stopped. And these leaves, and they were all different colors, because of the fall, and they just floated there and they just were like dancing back and forth and like floating down to the ground. And it was, I'm telling you, it was magical. I mean, I was like, wow. I said that out loud because it was all around me. And it was just like, it was a snapshot. That's what it was. It was a snapshot in time for me. And it took, you know, the better part of a minute or two, even for those leaves to all reach the ground. I mean, it felt like two. It was probably less than a minute, but I was in awe. And I thought, this is the shit that I get to enjoy sober. This is what it's like to be alive. This is what it's like to pause and appreciate what is around me instead of being so freaking focused all the time on the life that's going on inside of me, like of the stories, I should say, that I'm focused on that I tell myself every day. All day long, I'm telling myself stories. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're terrible. And I try to make sure that I'm leaning towards the stories being good stories, with happy endings and stuff. Like a counselor once told me, have you ever imagined that everything was going to work out good? Like, have you ever thought the best would happen? And I told her, no. I've only thought about what if the bad stuff happens. And that's another example of holding your face to the light. And me being able to sit there and pause, put my life on hold just to enjoy the world that is around me is again pointing my face towards the light. My life keeps getting better, even though have been events that would have, if you told me when I was 30, you're gonna be a recovering alcoholic and a stroke survivor when you're 50, I would have been like, oh my God. I would have been like, no, 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 like panicked. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. And yet I am that today. And I still point my face, hold my face to the light because of my sobriety program that has been introduced to me. My life is getting better, and it's not because I'm not drinking. It's because I'm not drinking and practicing the principles of my sobriety program in all of my affairs every day. Um, Somebody brought up this morning the beauty of the changing seasons. And that's one of the reasons why I just love living in Virginia, because we just experience, I think, the best part of every season and the best part between the seasons. Um, that warm feeling that you get when you're standing in the sun, but the air is cool, like that combination of the cool air and the sun pounding through it and resting on my body is is like the changing seasons. It's beautiful to me. And somebody was sharing this morning about Da Vinci and how he studied the imperfections of the world. Like he studied, that's how it was phrased this morning. He studied how uh birds fly, like what the shape that they take and all of that. He studied um the movement of the water and that kind of thing. And when I heard that, I thought, yeah, like I'm able to see the imperfections of the world today and appreciate that they're perfect. They're perfectly imperfect. Like, I swear when I was drinking, I never stopped, not once, to study a leaf when it was changing color. And there's this tree out front of my house that gets the sun hitting it most of the day on one side. And so the back side of the tree remains green, while the front side of the tree begins to change color. And if you walk up close to it and you study just one of the leaves, you can see that the root of the leaf, like the spine of the leaf, is still green, while the arms of the leaf are turning color from the outside in. So when I look at the leaf, it starts from the outside in to be yellow, orange, red, and then green, dark green, light green, and then dark green. And I never noticed that before. So for the past 2 years, since I have been medically retired and not taking my dogs outside for their walk and then running back inside to get back on my computer, I'm stopping and looking at this stuff. And I thought, this is something to be grateful for sure. That I have been gifted with more time to appreciate the world around me and not be so wrapped up in the stories that I'm telling myself and the world that I'm painting between my ears. So, yeah, it's just been a really peaceful place for me to travel in my mind this morning. So I wanted to share that with you. And I hope that you can consider for the next 24 hours until we meet again, hold your face to the light and recognize what that feels like. The difference between holding your face to the light and standing in the shadows, because um, I did that for a long time and it didn't feel good. And I'm so grateful to be able to be where I am today. And this is part of the work that I get to put in order to change my mindset from um, being grateful for all that has happened to me in my life to as opposed to feeling like I'm a victim, from being a survivor, then from being change to being a survivor from being a victim of a stroke, being a survivor as a recovering alcoholic, as opposed to being a victim, of alcoholism. Because it's so easy to go there. And I don't want to do that today. So thanks for listening today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.